Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kris Morgan, and this is Andy. I'm on day 6 with her. American Humane just awarded me with the service dog. So I want to share you a little bit about my life since 1994. I left for basic training on January 17th, 1994. After graduating basic, I then was stationed at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas for 6 months. After graduating tech school, I got orders to Tinker Air Force Base. I got to Tinker in August 94 and was assigned to the 552nd Air Control Wing in support of the E-3 AWACS. In April 1995, the bombing of the Oklahoma City Alpha Primero Federal Building happened. I immediately volunteered to go help in any way that I could. Just hours after the bombing, I was in the bus en route to downtown Oklahoma City. I spent the next 2 weeks working mostly 12-hour shifts at the bombing site, removing debris, body parts, bodies. In July 1995, I went on my first deployment to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for Operation Desert Shield. After that trip, I then went to Incirlik in Turkey for Operation Northern Watch. Then in July 1996, I went on my last deployment. To Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. During this trip, I was injured during a massive sandstorm. I was removing aerospace ground equipment off the flight line and tripped and lost my footing and hit my head between the ground unit and my tow vehicle. Knocked me out, spent 30 minutes knocked out until I was found by a coworker after the storm had passed. I was checked out by a flight doctor and was told that I only had a mild concussion. Doctor informed me to head back to my tent and take the next 48 hours off work. When I arrived at my tent, I was told that I went and laid down in my bunk and I slept for 27 hours. When I was woken up, I had massive headache pain in the back of my head. Went into sick call and they returned me home 1 week early. After I was returned home, I began seeing numerous doctors because I was dealing with severe migraines almost every other day. They got my headaches under somewhat control in August 1997. September 1997, I decided to cross-train into logistics planning because I felt my migraines were maybe due to the heat and the cold on the flight line. So maybe a desk job indoors is what I needed. I went back to Lackland Air Force Base for another 7 weeks of tech school. After graduating, I went back to Tinker yet again. In my new role, I deployed personnel and cargo all over the world. Meanwhile, I was starting to have lots of migraines again, and the medications had then stopped working. I was having dizzy spells and even randomly passing out. I then lost my mobility status and was put up for a medical evaluation board in August 1999, just 1 month after my beautiful daughter, Madison Bailey, was born. I fought for the next 2 years to stay in the Air Force, since I planned to make the Air Force my career. After going in front of the medical board, I unfortunately lost my case and was honorably medically discharged in March 2001 after only 7 years and 2 months of service. The VA Compensation Board first gave me 70% disability. Several months after getting out of the service, I then started having grand mal seizures. I was being seen by numerous doctors at the Oklahoma City VA Medical Center, as well as countless other civilian doctors. During this time is when I found out damage and was telling, I was determined that it was my brain that was telling my heart to stop. But thankfully, my heart was healthy enough to start back beating on its own, except once. My heart was, in fact, shocked. Then in 2005, the Oklahoma City VA flew me to Houston VA Medical Center to go through 7 days of brain testing with the best VA neurology doctors. The testing consisted of over 250 electrodes glued to my head for 24 hours video monitoring. During this week, I was begging to have a seizure, just to help them get a good reading on why these seizures were happening. On the 3rd day of testing, I did have a migraine that lasted 29 hours. They got great information from that migraine and found the location of the problem on my brain. But on the 6th day, I still had not had a seizure recorded. So the morning of the 7th day, the doctors came in and induced me into a seizure using an injection of B12. The doctor came in the next morning and said that they had great test results, but not very good news for me. They found that my seizures and my headaches were going to happen for the rest of my life after suffering the traumatic brain injury in '97. I was then told that I had in fact had some bleeding on my brain from that injury, and it was never caught until now, which has caused the migraine, seizures, and cluster headaches. The doctor also told me that I suffered from PTSD as well after the traumatic events of the Oklahoma City bombing cleanup and the near fatal experience that I had during the May 3rd, '99 tornado. He said every night that I had night terrors and reliving those days. The following day I was flown home with very upsetting news, to say the least. After about a month later, the VA updated my disability rating from 70 to 100% permanent and total rating. Since being medically retired, I have tried working full-time at numerous places, but after missing so much work for migraines, headaches, and the seizures, I just couldn't keep working. Kept getting laid off from jobs and daily stress from the medical news. This caused me to fall into a major depression for many years. I shut out my family and my friends, and at one point I never left my house for a 3-year period. I needed help, and I needed lots of it at that point. I then was told from the veteran buddy about some local nonprofit programs, so I started going to some hunting, fishing, sports outings, golfing events, etc. These programs were a godsend. At that point in my life, I was seriously considering suicide because I felt like such a failure to my family and my friends, and I know I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't found Warriors for Freedom. It was through this program that I had the honor to meet the co-founder of Warriors for Freedom, Major Ed Polito, who is now the Vice President of Folds of Honor. I never knew how much of an impact one man would have on my life. Thanks to him showing me that there's more to life than to work and earn a bi-weekly paycheck, he told me a couple years ago words that I will never forget. Quote, "Kris, get out there and tell your story to other veterans that are in need. That need that you were in one point in your life. You don't have to earn a paycheck to be happy, my friend. Get out there and do what you're good at. And that, my friend, is helping other veterans." End quote. Excuse me. Now let's fast forward to March of this year, 2019. I was attending a Folds of Honor event in Baton Rouge. On March 27th, I had what they determined to be a seizure standing up. I fell straight back onto my head and landed on concrete. 911 was called and I was ambulanced to Baton Rouge Hospital. I spent the next 3 days in ICU with a 5.2 millimeter brain bleed. They released me to ride home with a fellow veteran, but was told to head straight to the VA in Oklahoma City and get checked out when I arrived. The primary care doctor felt that I needed to go see neurology. While waiting for my neurology appointment, I received a phone call from Greg Conradi of Oklahoma Oasis Hyperbaric. He heard about my injury from a friend of ours, and he wanted me to try and get into the chamber ASAP. So I went to the VA and asked my primary care doctor, quote, "Sorry, I can't approve for you to go try that." I then called neurology and asked them, and of course was told the same thing. I decided that this was an important opportunity that I just couldn't say no to. So I found a local civilian doctor to go pay out of my own pocket to try and get approval to do this. He knew a lot about hyperbarics and felt this treatment was perfect for me. 9 days after my fall in Baton Rouge, I was inside the hyperbaric. After 15 dives, the neurology clinic finally called me in for my first appointment. I went in and saw the doctor, and she informed me that my head injury was quite severe and it would take my body 6 to 12 months for my body to absorb that blood. She scheduled me an MRI upcoming in 2 weeks. I then told her that I've been doing hyperbaric dives at Oklahoma Oasis, and she said, "Oh good, I would be interested to see if that helps you or not." Day before my MRI, I dove for the 29th time. I had my MRI done and awaited the results while I continued to dive. A week later, neurology called me in for an appointment. She informed me that my brain bleed was completely absorbed after just 9 weeks after my fall. I mentioned to her that this has got to be because of the hyperbaric dives, and she immediately said, "Oh no, it can't be from that." I know hyperbaric helped me, and I feel my case is enough proof that this could help numerous other veterans all over this country. Since diving, I have had a total of 3 migraines and 0 seizures. One of those migraines, I got up to Oklahoma Oasis, and when we got to depth, my migraine immediately went away. Didn't return. In closing, I want to leave you all with some questions. If in 1997, after my initial head injury, had I gotten into a hyperbaric, how different could my life have been? Would I have been discharged and lost my career in the Air Force? Would I have been able to go to all of my son's Little League football games instead of just 2? Would I have locked myself in the house for 3 years? Would I have lost my best friend that I was married to for 19 years? Would I have chewed on the end of that gun barrel contemplating suicide? No. None of those horrible things would have happened to me because I know I would have been cured, or at the very least healed much quicker, like I have since 2019. Thank you for your time.